The National Institute of Standards and Technology has a new zero-trust architecture to help agencies modernize IT securely. The guidelines come as agencies navigate extended telework and, in some cases, make it permanent. Scott Rose is a computer scientist at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. He's one of the authors of the zero-trust architecture. Scott, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. Give me an overview of what this looks like and how it will work for agencies.
Well, basically, Zero Trust is kind of a new way of thinking about your cybersecurity architecture. In many ways, it's kind of a natural evolution about what's been going on over the last decade or so, where we're kind of moving away from depending on network perimeters and firewalls and network segments to kind of a more looking at endpoint security, identifying and evaluating trust in individual users, and add all the way down to the individual access requests. And so we're kind of looking at security as, never trust, always verify before you start doing any kind of network transaction or actually any kind of transaction over in the enterprise.
There's a report in FedScoop that says this finalized guidance further ties zero trust architecture in with other federal constructs like its cybersecurity framework and the continuous diagnostics and mitigation program. What's that intersection, Scott?
Well, it's kind of like I said, Zero Trust kind of builds upon what's been kind of previous work that's been done in the past. We didn't want to totally reinvent the wheel and tell agencies to scrap what they're doing and focus on the bright new technology out there, because what the foundational work of Zero Trust, such as like learning the users on the network, having assets all monitored, network protection, all of those have been in the pipeline for years. Agencies have been told to do that, and it's been shown to do that. And so Zero Trust kind of builds upon that. So you kind of need to have that kind of foundational work. And that's been part of the CDM program at DHS. And then there's also the cybersecurity framework and the risk management framework at NIST. Those kind of provide the tools to help move to the Zero Trust architecture. Like, how do you describe it? How do you actually know you're improving? Things like that you actually security architects want to know. So all of this builds upon previous work. It doesn't. This isn't a total reinvention. This is kind of more of an evolutionary work.
So if this is the foundation, if this is built on the foundation of that previous work, is it possible this becomes a part of that foundation for something to come in the future? Should we assume? I guess this is a more conceptual question than logistical, but should we assume that this is something that will be constantly evolving rather than reach some end state at some point?
Probably yes. At least one point of Zero Trust kind of creates the option, or at least the envisionment of a total security, as kind of envisioned in the Zero Trust principles. I said there's many definitions of Zero Trust. All of them have some sort of set of guiding principles, and those could almost be viewed as kind of like the platonic form of cybersecurity, knowing that any architecture that you actually implement and deploy will probably never reach and meet all of those principles, at least in the near future. But it's a guiding set of principles and a goal to work towards. So will there ever be something beyond Zero Trust? Probably. But I think a lot of the principles that are described as enveloping Zero Trust are actually kind of these core set of principles that have been kind of foundational work in cybersecurity ever since its inception.
What do you want to see agencies do to implement this to its fullest potential, Scott?
Well, I'd personally like them to, my advice would be to see what you're already doing. Like I said, this is evolutionary work. So there's chances are that you have either in the planning or actually in the deployment and operation, a lot of this foundational work. You don't want to scrap that just to move to kind of the new buzzword of Zero Trust, because actually what you're doing is the foundation of Zero Trust. And then look at how you're completing your missions, or how the workflows in the agency or in the organization, because that kind of dictates the security policy. We were trying to move away. Zero Trust tries to move away from the idea of securing a system kind of in a vacuum, say a database or a mail system. You just say these are good security practices. We must all do them for the system. But looking at the full workflow that system is part of, like for instance, who is using that system, how are they accessing that system, why and when are they doing that, and kind of building your security policy around that.
Scott, thanks very much for coming on. It's great to have you here.
Great, thanks to be here.